Oh, did we already start recording? I guess that's a sign. Okay. Apparently the buttons on the new iPhone are in a different place. Bueno. I was sitting here today and I was thinking back to a Christmas where I left the country, or I left Colombia. I'm coming to you from Medellin, Colombia, and I went and traveled. And I think this is the only time I'd been gone and off, like proper traveling for the holidays. And I've been down in Latin America 9 years. You meet people along the way, you have adventures, you have stories. Sometimes the story, I was talking with another friend, sometimes the story sounds much better than the crazy, beautiful, messy, wild experience you had. But this one really stood out. And this was in Argentina, but I'll go back for a minute and think about myself. Maybe you can relate, I don't know, with my own dating life and being in Colombia, especially the first few years, and being a playboy and really thinking like I had life made, from 2000, my like super playboy phase, which isn't very hard in Colombia, was 2017 to 2020. My moderate playboy phase, or like sexual exploration, sex clubs, was 2021 and early 2022. So I can remember back to thinking the more women I slept with, the more fulfilled I was going to be, and got to a point of feeling shittier and shittier and lower. Guys, we can have the criticism or judgment that a woman's body count means this. A lot of times we don't, I'll share from personal experience, we don't take into consideration how much racking up our own body count really impairs us. So I know from firsthand experience, and I'll tell this story and come back to some personal stuff in a moment. I'm sitting there with this guy, I'm drinking wine in Argentina, another American guy, probably in his like 50s. We're talking, and he's seeing all these women, and he's been in, the typical stuff, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, and like he's living the playboy lifestyle, and teach their own. I get it. I've had my fair addictions with drugs, alcohol, sex, and more. And he's talking about it, and look at this girl, and look at, here's some naked pictures of her. And I'm like, bro, what I've seen a lot of naked pictures, I really don't care. But he was just the kind of guy, we'll call him John. His name's not John, but we'll call him John. He's just a sweetheart of a dude. Like, he was the guy you'd meet on your travels, your adventures, and you'd be like, I want to hang out with this dude and have dinner with him. And maybe he's not your best friend or, whatever, but someone you just meet on your way. And let's see, we got a mosquito that looks like he needs to be assassinated. And I'm talking to this guy, and we're drinking some wine. And man, I don't remember what I was asking him, but he just burst into tears. And he's like, I'm sleeping with all these women, I'm dating around, and I don't want to date a girl more than 3 months. And I dated this girl in this other country a few years ago, and she was this, and she was extorting me, or I don't even remember, some crazy shit. And he's like, when I was living in the States, I was dating this Latin girl. And we dated for 2 years, and I've never been more in love than with this girl. He's like, we broke up, and I didn't know that I'd ever find love like that again. I still think about her, whatever it was. Maybe it was in 15 years, maybe it was 12 or 13. I still think about her to this day, and he's sitting there crying with his glass of wine and his cigarette or cigar, whatever it was. As guys, we don't share a lot of our stuff with how we feel about relationships, sex, intimacy. In fact, a lot of times we think it's going to make us gay, it's going to make us weak. We say these goofy things, right? And we can have these things pent up in us for so long. And bro, it just hurts. It can come out in sleeping around, call it too much sex, call it sex addiction, drugs, alcohol, whether it's abuse or full-blown addiction. And we can have this part of us. It's like this little kid inside that maybe was hurt when we were a kid. We were looking as an adult for connection, for love, for safety. No one taught us that as we get older, as we become an adult, that it becomes our job or our responsibility to meet those needs that maybe our parents didn't know how to, for that little kid that's still a part of us. You might be 45, but there's also a part of you that's 5. This guy was not a client. He was not someone I met at an ayahuasca retreat or a meditation thing or a mastermind or hosting a men's event or any of these things. This was a regular dude I met traveling. I connected with traveling, better said. But he still had the same thing inside of him. And I haven't thought of it in a while, it just popped on my mind tonight. And as guys, we tell this story of our pursuit of freedom, right? Which you should pursue. Or in some ways, it's really just better to realize that you're more free than you know you are. Yeah, you'd like some more money. Yeah, you'd like to be in better shape. But to start from a whole abundant place, not waiting till someday syndrome, oh, I'll be free then. And for me, it fit at the time, but it didn't feel right in some ways. I'm in Brazil, spending Christmas alone, and I saw someone post something, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing my thing, and it was a necessary trip for me. But I was like, yeah, this was not how this year I thought was gonna go down. I've done a lot of work on myself. I was like, what's the point? Like, the holidays aren't the same without someone you really love that you want to spend it with rather. And that trip was very necessary. The pain was very necessary for me as well. But also thinking that guy, or thinking something that most of us can relate to as men, where's the story we're telling ourselves about where we think we're free? Like, I remember a guy said to me, I was 30, so it was like a decade ago. No, 29. And I was like, man, I don't know, I'm dating this woman, I really like her, but I just want to be free. And it wasn't a sexual thing. It was just like, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. It was very like 15-year-old thinking freedom. I'll never forget what he said to me. He's like, what if you finally had the freedom to be your authentic self and have someone love you for it? To really be your true self and be seen? What if you could share the deepest parts of you and be totally free that way? And there was a part of me that knew this motherfucker was right. And there was about 90% that was like, no, I'm not listening. I just want to be free and do what I want to do, when I want to do, when I want to do it, like a 15-year-old boy. I'm sure you probably can't relate. So oftentimes in our pursuits of more or freedom, as guys, we're actually running from someone. Women have an advantage because, bro, they go through a different hormone cycle. It's a totally different operating system. Like, they're a cat, you're a dog. With the way they're wired, they're going to talk to someone about these things. They're just, even if they don't want to talk to someone, they're going to talk to the woman who does their nails, who does their hair, or, some of those women are practically trained therapists without a degree. But as guys, we're not going to talk about it. It's not that we can't, but we have these things that we don't think we should, or it's going to make us weak, and a lot of the times, gosh, almost always, it's not even our bullshit. It's something we heard in a locker room, or our uncle said, or our dad said, or our older brother said. So this is a guy who on paper is living this totally free life, and I can relate to how I lived in Latin America as well. And a deeper part of him wanted nothing more than real intimacy, Not just sex, not just physical intimacy, that absolutely as well, but emotional intimacy, and to connect with someone deep that he can really be himself with fully, that he can really grow with fully. And the guys that are really honest, the guys that have the balls to admit it, that they actually want to be fully seen. It's something women say all the time. I want to be seen, I want to be heard. But as guys, to go, yeah, I want to open up and be totally me and be raw and real. And gentlemen, I'll tell you from personal experience, from clients' experience, friends' experience, when it's that level of emotional nakedness with a connection in your heart, the physical intimacy, the sex will be very awesome, very different. Maybe you haven't even experienced it yet. And if you have, that you'd experience it more regularly. So whatever you're doing, it is what, the 22nd, I think, 23rd. Think of this year going into this next year, whether it's Christmas or the upcoming year. Are what you doing really giving you freedom, or is it costing you freedom? This guy, again, I'll close with that. This great-hearted dude. He's traveling the world, but he's trapped in some ways by his need for the next pretty girl in Latin America. And maybe that shows up for you in Miami, Madrid, New York, LA. The exact thing we think we're pursuing, we can often be creating the exact opposite thing. That the thing that we think is setting us free is actually our prison. Thanks for tuning in. Merry Christmas, not happy holidays, and see you soon.